Hey again. Welcome to Life According to Dana. Just wanted to thank you guys for tuning in. Been getting great responses, getting really good feedback, and I'm just excited about what's going on with the podcast and just with other things that we have up and coming, which I promise to keep you, informed on. And just I'm just in a kind of different space today because as I'm recording this, I'm getting ready to celebrate my 62nd birthday. And I just can't do that without taking a moment to say thank you to the Lord for everything that He's done in my life, how faithful He's been to me over the years, and just how abundantly He's blessed me. Sometimes we just don't take the time to tell Him thank you, but I have to acknowledge that none of this would be possible in my life that's happening right now if it had not been for the Lord on my side. The most faithful part of my life comes from God. And I just want to take a moment just to start, this podcast off by reminding you always give thanks. I know some things just don't feel like maybe we should be giving God thanks for, that we should maybe, even acknowledge, but I've learned over the years, and I'm still learning, that when I say thank you, Lord, I'm inviting Him in to whatever is taking place in my life. I learned to just give God thanks no matter what was going on. Sometimes I find myself, maybe in physical pain sometime, and instead of complaining about it, I just say, Lord, I thank you because I'm inviting you to come into this situation. I'm not thanking Him for the negative situation, but I am acknowledging that He is well able to establish a completely different thing out of it. When I say invite God in with your thank you, I'm saying when you acknowledge Him, you're saying that you trust Him, and your thank you is saying that you trust Him. Your thank you is saying that I believe that this is going to turn into something that's going to work for my good. Your thank you is saying, God, I don't understand this situation necessarily, but I trust you with it. I believe that anything that occurs in my life, I can trust God with. When things come, when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Lord, He raises a standard against it and He just moves on my behalf. Don't you understand that there are angels that wait for our thank yous, that wait for us to invite God into the thing, that wait for us to acknowledge Him? The Bible says, in all thy ways, acknowledge Him. And so I'm just taking a moment to say thank you for 61 years that you're allowing me to be on this earth. And now, as I transition into 62, I am just awestruck, just dumbfounded, I never thought that I would be working on my doctorate at this point in my life. I never thought I'd be a homeowner. I never thought that, I would have the things that I have. I never thought that I would be walking in the place in ministry that I'm walking. I never thought that I would have the ability to help those that have experienced domestic violence. I never thought that He was going to give me all these platforms, but these platforms exist as a result of the things that I've experienced in my life. And it gives us an authority and authenticity. You often hear me talk about that because there's an authenticity that comes, that hits people's ears when they hear you speak about a subject that you have survived and thrived. There is an authenticity that comes when people hear you share your testimony. There is an authenticity that comes when people hear you say things like, oh, I understand where you are because I was sitting right in that same place. When I minister at the shelters a lot of time and I begin to share my testimony of how God brought myself and my son through that experience, I've had people come up to me and say, wow, you don't look like that was part of your experience. And let me tell you the wonderful thing about God's grace and His mercy. You won't look like what you've been through. You know, I remember the story of, when the three Hebrew boys came up out the furnace. They didn't smell like smoke. They didn't look like what they had been through. When Daniel survived in the lion's den, he didn't look like he had just spent the evening with hungry lions. And it's just like when you come up out of your experiences, when God is in it, you're not going to look like what you've been through. And that in itself is a testimony to the glory and the power of God at work in your life. So, no, I don't look like those were the things that occurred. I don't look like someone tried to beat me to death. I don't look like or sound like someone tried to end my life. I don't look or sound like that, but I have the authority and the authenticity that comes with it. And I can speak to someone that is experiencing the same thing, and I can shake them up in their spirit, because their spirit will identify with my spirit as someone that has actually went through this. This is not someone talking to them out the side of their neck, as we would say, or just somebody just talking to be talking. But this is someone that has walked through these waters. This is someone that has gone through this experience. No two experiences are the same. And I understand and I recognize that and I acknowledge it. But it's easier for someone that has been an alcoholic and seen the little pink elephant running under the table and the chairs to say to an alcoholic, you can survive this, because you can sympathize, empathize, you can do all these things. But if you don't have that firsthand experience, a lot of times people just, they don't really get with you when you talk to them, and it's because we all have a voice for certain people. So as we begin to just tell God, thank you for the things that we've experienced in this life, and just the things that we're still grappling with, invite them into it, and ask him to heal you. Most importantly, one of the things, I've been noticing kind of an uptick on. People are very readily giving out prophetic words. And so they're telling you, really stuff you already know a lot of times, and things that you've experienced. And that's great for that to be acknowledged. But if you don't do anything to change it, if you don't take any steps to allow God to heal it, if you don't take any steps to allow God to deliver you, then you just acknowledge that it happened or that is there, but no change takes place. There's no transformation. There's no space made for the blessings of the Lord. A lot of times wounded people wound other people, and you just see it. We call it different things. We call it generational curses, where just person after person in your family is dealing with the same situation: alcoholism, drug addiction. It's all addiction. And and we acknowledge that exists, but then we never ask God to deliver us. We never ask God to heal us. We never ask God to step in. We never tell God, thank you, not for the addiction, but that I have an acknowledgement that it exists, God. So now I'm handing that to you. So I'm taking the responsibility off of myself, and I'm putting it into your loving and trusting hands to do something good with it, to turn it to my good, to turn it to where I can stand before people and say, thus saith the Lord, or turning into, well, I survived it and God's not a respecter of person, so I know he can do the same thing for you. I just want this particular podcast just to be not only an acknowledgement to God and just tell him thank you for where he's brought me from, but also an acknowledgement of where he's taken me. I am just amazed at the things that God has in store for not only myself, but for my family, for those that are around me. You just, when you look at people's lives and you see where they came from, and you can see ahead sometimes and they can't. So this is just me taking a moment to encourage you right where you are right now, wherever you find yourself. I just want to take a moment and encourage you that this is not your end. This is not where you stop. You're going to keep moving forward. And we're speaking that into your life today, We're just acknowledging where you are, but we're just telling you, you're not going to stay here. I'm telling you, you are not going to stay here. Our ministry partners, they're telling you, you're not going to stay here. This is just a temporary stop. This is like a speed bump in the road. Sometimes when you hit those speed bumps, I would advise you to slow down if you don't want to tear up the axle in your car. But sometimes, we take the speed bumps, don't see them, I don't know, too fast. But, the speed bump's not moving. You are not a speed bump. You are proceeding over that hurdle. You are proceeding over that little temporary pause. And you know what? I'm learning, and I've learned that sometimes those pauses are necessary. Sometimes we have to just settle in for a moment where we are to get our wits back about us, to just be still and see the salvation of the Lord, or just be still, period, and let God, work on the things that he's trying to work in and out of us. I go back to what I said earlier, where I talked about how we can have something acknowledged in our life, but if we don't allow God to work on that thing, and I'm telling you, sometimes the work is painful, but you hear people like in the fitness industry, they say no pain, no gain. Well, sometimes God removes things and we don't even know they're being removed. And I thank him for that, because I remember one day I just had this sensation like I had lost something, and I couldn't figure out even what I had lost. And it was just like I thought I had misplaced my keys, and I was like, no, there they are. And it just was like getting on my nerves so bad. And I kept going, God, what is it? Help. What did I lose? Why do I feel like this? He said, that's me. I'm removing things that are so ugly out of you and out of your life that if you saw them, they would terrify you. So just know this is just my grace and mercy in action, but you're just feeling it being removed. God is so gracious in our lives. We have some ugly stuff that hangs in us and hangs around us. But God is so wonderful. He removes them from us sometimes without us even being aware of what they really are and how damaging they really are. But him, in his love and kindness, he removes them. And for that, I just want to say thank you too. Almost 62 years, just a few more hours, I'll be 62 years old. And it's like, man, it went so fast. Can I say that? I'm not planning on going anywhere, so nobody think, oh, she probably. No, I'm not. I still got stuff to do, and I'm gonna do it in Jesus' name. And you hear those words, oh, your ladder is gonna be greater. Well, my ladder really has been greater, and it's just getting better day by day. I never thought I'd have my own YouTube channel. Didn't really think about the podcast. So people have asked me to do this over the years, but now I'm just moving in God's time. I'm moving in his speed. And most people my age, I guess they would be planning on retiring. They be sitting back, resting, kind of kick back. Well, I'm at full throttle, or all momentum of full throttle. And so I'm just moving forward in the things of God. I'm not going to stop doing the work of God until he calls me home, until he says no more. That is when I'll stop working for the kingdom. I am grateful for the opportunities again that God has given me, and I'm just excited, and I'm thankful that I get to share it with you guys. That I get to share my stories, that I get to encourage you, that I get to help someone move forward, to be an inspiration, to be an encouragement. I've been reading comments, and, where people have said that this really struck a chord with them. And, other people said it inspired them, to keep moving forward. And, I'm just grateful, that's been my prayer. My prayer has been, God, just let someone be encouraged. Let someone be uplifted. Let someone be enlightened. Let someone move forward in the things of the Lord. Let someone just find you in what I'm doing and what I'm saying, because none of this is about me. None of this is about me. It's all about him. He gets the glory. He gets the honor. He gets the praise. I am nothing outside of God. I am dust. And I'm just like a vapor. But I am so grateful that this little piece of dust and vapor gets to take an opportunity every week, to speak a word of encouragement into your life. I just I had to take a moment and just really tell God thank you for the opportunities that he's giving me. And I know there is greater coming. For me, I tell people all the time, I'm worded out. I don't need another word. I don't need nobody to tell me nothing else that God is about to do, because I'm just in a place now where I'm watching things manifest, and that is what I want to see. As I sit, as I write books, as I sit and I, create journals, as I sit and I work on, pulling all these ministry components together and putting them, in a place, in a physical place. It's been an adventure, but it's been a great adventure. And I know it's just going to get greater, because we serve an awesome God. We serve such a creative God. Don't limit God by what you think or even by what you see. Don't allow the enemy to make God small. Don't allow the enemy to make you think that your vision is smaller than it really is. If God showed you something large, he is well able to bring that thing to pass. If God showed you something that is so far out of your understanding, or so far out of what you feel you are capable of doing, trust me, it's him, because you can't do it by yourself. You need his help. You need his divine intervention. But he would not give you a vision if he was not going to bring it to pass. A lot of times we become our greatest enemy. We become our greatest adversary because we can't figure it out. Well, my credit, I don't know. Well, I know you gave me the house, but will that be enough, to be able to finance that, or to do that, or to do this and to do that? And then we get in our own little headspace is what happens. And now here we go. And now we start confessing crazy stuff. We start confessing doubt instead of faith. But listen, if God gives you a vision, he's going to bring it to pass. It's up to him. The onus isn't on you with your little creative self. He's got more creativity in his pinky toe than we do in our whole being and atmosphere. So trust God with what he's giving you, because he's not that kind of God. He's not that kind of daddy. He's not that kind of Abba where he would show you something just to tease you. And he's also not a cruel father. He's not a father, that can lie. He's also not a father that's just sitting there, messing with you. That's no, that's not God. So just whoever that is chatting that up, just tell him to go on, get behind me, But I am just, I'm overjoyed. I am full. My full plan for bringing in my birthday. Um, Honestly, I just want to be on my face. I'm not trying to be deep either, but that is just I'm so grateful. This is April going into May. I am a May baby, and I I just can't wait, to see how all this, shakes out. And usually you're right in the middle of the thing when you realize that God already did it. At least that's how it works for me. And I found myself, even in these short minutes that I've been with you today, you know, um, just being full and really kind of fighting back tears, and just so grateful. I was looking at my son as he was helping me, get set up, to record the podcast. And he is a miracle, and he's my miracle, and he is my heart, but he is also my gift, because I was told that I could not have children after having a very, very bad miscarriage years ago. And they told me that I probably would never have children. I almost died after that miscarriage because of negligence. And I remember it just, I remember when they said that, I didn't get, the full magnitude of what they were saying. But I was like 20 years old, and they were telling me that I would never have children because the child that I had, that I was carrying, I miscarried. And when they did the procedure that they're supposed to do after that, they left part of the fetus inside of me, and it was rotting. The thing that I was trying to give life was killing me. And I don't care what anyone tells you, you'll feel life slipping away a lot of times. And I did. And I knew something was wrong. And I kept going. This happened to me when I was in the military. And I kept going to the people in command, telling them there's something wrong. And they thought I was just, trying to get out of work or whatever. And I said, no, no, seriously, there is something wrong. And so I remember it was, I think, a Saturday maybe, but it was on the weekend, I remember. And I was in my room, I was in my barracks, and I saw some of my friends outside in the yard out front. And I said, if I could just get to them. And I was so weak, I remember. I said, if I could just get to them, maybe they can take me to the hospital. And I remember, and I said, God, just help me get to them. And I got outside. I had to come out of my room, go down some stairs, and cross, the lot to get to them. But when I got to them, I remember I dropped. And when I came to myself, I was in the hospital, and there was this lady doctor there, which was kind of rare back then, early 80s. And she was like, what I'm about to tell you is bad, but I need to tell you. But hear what she said. I'm telling you this because I need you to fight. She said, I need you to fight. And what happened, and she explained to me that the doctor that performed the procedure had left part of the fetus inside me, and it was rotting, and it was poisoning my body from the inside. She said, if you had went one more day, you would have dropped dead, and they would have found out why in the autopsy. And she said, this is really bad, and it's going to take everything that you have to survive. And she said, but I'm going to put a note in your medical records just in case you don't survive. And she said, and then that way your parents will be able to do something with this in case you don't make it. And I said, okay. And I was like in and out of consciousness. I was sick. I didn't feel well. And, and I was dying. Plain and simple, I was dying. So she did what she had to do. And I spent like almost the next 2 weeks in the hospital. And the first few days, I remember having a gastric tube. And I remember all this green poison coming out of my body. I knew something was wrong, but I had no idea that was inside of me. And it was killing me. There are things that are inside of you that are killing you. You feel them, you're aware, but you don't understand how close to death you really are. And if it's just absolutely not for the intervention of God, you won't survive. Every once in a while, I just ask God, could you search me, Lord? And if there's anything in me that's not like you, could you remove it? And then I go on to say, could you replace it with your love? Because there are hidden things that we know about and don't. Well, when I got out the hospital, I was like, when I went in, it was wintertime. I remember it being winter. But when I came out, it was spring. And so the seasons had changed, literally. And then years later, 5 years later, Grace, my son Aaron, was born. Man, listen, I remember asking God for a son. That's all I asked. I said, I want a son. And I said, then at least I'll know there'll be one man on the earth that'll love me unconditionally. And he gave me a son. And when I found out I was pregnant, I was I was over 4 months pregnant, because I still got in my head, you can't have a child. But then I prayed and asked God for a son. And I'm sitting there going, okay. And, happened to look up one day and stuff had dust on it. And I was like, when was the last time, that my body functioned that way? So I think 3 pregnancy tests later, I was convinced that I was actually pregnant. And by this time, I was 4.5 months pregnant. And I never picked out a girl's name because I knew if I was pregnant, it was a boy. So that same child, that same gift that God gave me, today was helping me set up for my podcast. That same gift that God gave me 37 years ago is my post production person. That same gift that God gave me wrote and performs the music that you hear in my intro and my outro. You know, when God gives something, he gives his best. There is excellence in the things of God. And he gave me excellent help in the form of my son. And I am so grateful for that. And see, we get things, and when we get them, a lot of times we don't understand how their value is going to increase over years. The things that God has entrusted you with, treat them with care because they have more than one purpose in your life. When God blesses you with something, make sure you take care of it like he gave it to you. When people come into my life, my goal is that they leave better than when I found them. That has been a driving force within me. I want you to leave better than you were when I found you. I never intend to harm, but I am aware that I may harm. For that, I apologize. I don't even use the excuse I'm only human. No, just the reality that on your best day, you subject to hurt somebody's feelings. And I apologize. That's all I can do is apologize. I can't go back in the past and change anything. I can't undo it. And neither can you. But know that sometimes it was you, and you do need to have the ability to apologize. Again, this is just me talking about how grateful and how thankful I am. This is Life According to Dana, and this has been my life for almost now 62 years, and I am so grateful. As I celebrate my birthday tomorrow, I just had to acknowledge God and take this podcast to say thank you. This is from a grateful heart, from an amazed woman at how he has been such a magnificent father. You know, I really can't say that there's anything in my life that I want to do over on because it all has purpose. I'm so grateful that God has given me the ability to be able to see his goodness, to acknowledge his love, to see him in everything. And it's just so it's life altering, but it's also liberating as well to be able to trust God, to be able to, in the worst situation, to just say, Lord, I thank you. You might be gritting your teeth while you saying it. Lord, I thank you. But it breaks something off of you. It breaks the enemy's back when you say, Lord, I thank you, because he can't penetrate it. He can't penetrate your praise. He can't penetrate your worship. He can't penetrate that thank you, because that thank you stops him in his tracks. Because the thing that the enemy is always after is God's glory, his acknowledgement, his adoration, his applause. That's the thing that got him booted out of heaven. He wanted to steal God's glory. He was jealous of the praise and the worship that was being lifted up to God. He just wanted, with the situation with Job, he wanted Job to just do just what his wife suggested, to curse God and please die. But there was Job, yet acknowledging God. Yes, saying, I trust you. Yes, saying thank you. Just acknowledging God that somehow this was going to work for his good. And because he held in that place, he got double. He got double for his trouble. Take heart. God is for you and he is not against you. Tell him thank you. Invite him in to your situations. I always say invite him into your chaos. Invite him into whatever's going on in your life, whether you think is good or not. Just say, Lord, I thank you and I trust you, because that's what your thank you is really saying. Lord, I trust you. I don't see how this is going to work for my good, but amen, I trust you. I can't do it, but you can. In all thy ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. I just want to say again, thank you for tuning in. This is Life According to Dana, and I am just thankful on today. I pray that you're blessed. I pray that you're encouraged. I pray that you're enlightened. I pray that this is really helping you learn how to pivot through life. Be blessed. Know that you are loved. Know that you are prayed for. You guys be inspired. Amen.